Men over 40 with the best physiques do these 10 things every morning, and you should too. Most men over 40 who plateau in muscle gain aren't making mistakes in their training. They're making mistakes in the first hours of the day. A reasonable diet and consistent weight training create the foundation. Nobody disputes that. But there's a layer that few consider, and it begins before you even leave the house. Waking up and spending the first minute scrolling through your phone seems harmless, but it's a real physiological mistake. At that moment, cortisol is at its peak in the daily cycle. The immediate stimulus of notifications amplifies this peak and prolongs it. And elevated cortisol for prolonged periods destroys muscle, reduces testosterone, and impedes protein synthesis. A study from Guangzhou University showed that immediate morning social media use raises stress markers by up to 27% in the first 2 hours of the day. For those over 40, this effect is even more devastating. That's why today you'll see the 10 things that men with the best physiques in this age group do every morning. Before we begin, please leave in the comments your name and the city where you're watching our content from. We'd love to know. Habit number 1. Wake up early and always at the same time. Maintaining a fixed wake-up time is one of the most underestimated pillars of muscle development after 40 years of age. The human body functions in cycles, and when you respect these cycles with consistency, it begins to work in your favor in ways that no supplement can replicate. By waking up at the same time every day, regardless of whether it's a weekday or weekend, the organism consolidates what chronobiologists call a stable circadian rhythm. This rhythm directly regulates the production of hormones essential to anabolism. And do you know which hormone benefits the most? Growth hormone. A study from the University of Chicago demonstrated that men with consistent sleep patterns had levels of this hormone up to 60% higher than those with irregular schedules. It's exactly during sleep that growth hormone orchestrates the recovery and construction of muscle fibers. Without this regularity, you spend hours in the gym and hand over the results under the pillow. Research also shows that men with regular sleep routines maintain testosterone levels up to 15% higher, directly impacting strength, body composition, and training readiness. Another crucial point is the restorative sleep window. The deepest tissue repair occurs between 10 at night and 2 in the morning. To ensure you're sleeping during this interval, waking up early naturally becomes a consequence. Those who wake up between 5 and 6 in the morning tend to fall asleep before 11 at night, aligning sleep with the biological peak of recovery. For men over 40 who already face natural decline in hormonal levels, wasting this window with irregular schedules is a physiological cost that simply doesn't pay off. Habit number 2. Rehydrate correctly. Upon waking, regardless of how your sleep was, the body is already in a state of mild dehydration. This fact has direct and measurable consequences for muscle gain that most men simply ignore. During sleep hours, we lose an average of 17 fluid ounces of water just through breathing and perspiration, not counting urinary elimination throughout the night. This means your morning workout, your hormone production, and your mental clarity already start the day at a deficit before you put your foot on the ground. A study published in the Journal of Strength and Conditioning Research demonstrated that dehydration of just 2% of body weight is enough to reduce muscular strength by up to 10% and significantly compromise protein synthesis. For a 175-pound man, this represents less than 3.5 pounds of water, an amount that can be lost in a common night. Rehydrating immediately upon waking reactivates metabolism, improves blood viscosity, and favors the transport of oxygen and nutrients to muscle cells. The ideal is to consume between 17 and 25 fluid ounces of water in the first 30 minutes after waking. For men over 40, this habit becomes even more urgent for a rarely discussed reason. The sensation of thirst naturally diminishes with age. The mechanoreceptors responsible for signaling thirst progressively lose sensitivity, making chronic dehydration a silent and constant risk in this age group. You may not feel thirsty, be dehydrated and not even realize it. And meanwhile, protein synthesis, training performance, and recovery are compromised. The solution is simple. Leave a glass with water on the nightstand and drink it before anything else. Small gesture, real impact. Habit number 3. Expose yourself to the sun. Morning sun exposure is one of the most powerful and completely free habits available to any man seeking to improve body composition after 40. The sun is the primary source of vitamin D for the organism, but this statement hides a physiological depth that goes far beyond what most imagine. In practice, vitamin D functions more like a steroidal hormone than a conventional vitamin, regulating more than 200 different biological processes. In the muscular context, it's directly linked to protein synthesis capacity, muscular strength, and recovery speed after training. Its deficiency, extremely common in men who spend the day in closed environments, is associated with muscular weakness, chronic fatigue, and slow recovery between sessions. Can you imagine the impact that a silent nutritional deficiency like this can accumulate month after month on your progress? Beyond direct muscle benefits, morning sunlight regulates the circadian rhythm by signaling to the brain that the day has begun, reducing residual melatonin and activating alertness hormones that at adequate levels are genuinely beneficial for metabolism and disposition. Practitioners who include morning solar exposure in their routine report improvement in sleep quality, disposition, and recovery capacity between workouts. 15 to 30 minutes of direct exposure is recommended without sunscreen, preferably before 10 in the morning when ultraviolet radiation is still at safe levels. Exposing arms, legs, and torso maximizes vitamin D synthesis, while exposing only the face produces insignificant amounts. If you live in a region with harsh winters or prolonged periods of little solar incidence, talk with your doctor about vitamin D3 supplementation. Habit number 4. Measure and record weight and body measurements. What isn't measured isn't managed. This principle applies with absolute precision to the muscle gaining process after 40. Weighing yourself and recording body measurements every morning, always in the same context, fasting, after urinating, and before any meal, provides objective data about how the body is responding to training and nutrition. Objective data is what differentiates a well-conducted process from a process based on subjective impressions. For men over 40, this practice is especially valuable because metabolism at this stage tolerates fewer prolonged deviations. Weeks of miscalibrated diet or inadequate training volume generate consequences that are harder to reverse than at 25 years old. With daily recording, you identify trends before they become problems. A week of stagnant weight combined with increased waist circumference already signals that something needs adjustment. Without recording, this deviation can go unnoticed for months. Daily recording also creates a psychological effect of accountability with your own objectives, increasing long-term consistency. Beyond scale weight, measuring circumferences like waist, hips, arms, and thighs offers a much more complete reading of body composition. The scale alone doesn't distinguish fat loss from muscle gain. You could have lost 4.5 pounds of fat and gained 2 pounds of muscle, and the scale would show you only lost 2.5 pounds, which seems frustrating without this context. Body measurements reveal what weight doesn't reveal, making this personal database an indispensable tool for those who take the process seriously. Habit number 5. Consume caffeine strategically and not right after waking up. Caffeine is one of the most studied and effective ergogenics available for weight training practitioners, but the vast majority of people consume it the wrong way. And the most popular wrong way is exactly the most common: coffee right upon waking. Upon awakening, cortisol levels are naturally at their daily peak, a biological activation mechanism responsible for mobilizing energy and increasing alertness completely naturally. Consuming caffeine at this moment artificially potentiates this peak, accelerating tolerance, development to the substance, and provoking a more intense energy crash hours later. That's why so many people over 40 feel that classic afternoon blackout, even after having morning coffee. The tolerance mechanism makes you need increasingly larger doses to feel the same effect, while energy valleys between doses become progressively more pronounced. The ideal, according to chronobiology research, is to wait 90 to 120 minutes after waking to consume the first coffee. In this interval, natural cortisol has already fulfilled its function and begins to decline. Caffeine then enters efficiently and complementarily, extending the alert period without creating the harmful artificial peak. When consumed at the right moment, especially 30 to 45 minutes before training, caffeine has demonstrated in meta-analyses to increase strength performance by up to 7%, improve muscular endurance, and amplify fat burning during exercise. For men over 40, using caffeine strategically is transforming a common routine into a real performance tool. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell. Having constant access to science-based information is what will make you progress healthily long-term in the world of exercise. Habit number 6. Get sunlight in your eyes. This habit seems simple to the point of sounding irrelevant, but it involves one of the most elegant biological mechanisms to optimize sleep, hormones, and by direct consequence, muscle gain. Unlike sun exposure for vitamin D synthesis, which requires light on the skin, this habit has a completely distinct mechanism, calibrating the internal biological clock through the retina. When natural light from the first morning hours enters through the eyes without the barrier of sunglasses or glass, it activates specialized cells called photosensitive ganglion cells. These cells send signals directly to the suprachiasmatic nucleus, the central pacemaker of circadian rhythm in the brain. This signal triggers serotonin production during the day and ensures better quality melatonin release at the right time at night. For men over 40, this cycle has direct implications on body composition. Deeper and more restorative sleep is exactly when growth hormone is secreted in greater quantities. The cycle is direct. More light in the eyes in the morning, stronger circadian signal, quality melatonin at night, growth hormone in greater quantity during sleep, and then more recovery and muscle building. Practitioners who adopt this habit consistently report sleep quality improvement in just a few weeks, with fewer nighttime interruptions and feeling more rested upon waking, without necessarily sleeping more hours. 5 to 10 minutes of exposure in the first 30 to 60 minutes after waking is recommended, without sunglasses, looking toward the natural light source but never directly at the sun. Walking outdoors or having breakfast on a balcony during this period already fulfills the function efficiently. Habit number 7. Have a protein-rich breakfast. After the overnight fast, the organism is in a mild catabolic state. Amino acid reserves are reduced, muscle repair processes that occurred during the night consumed available stores, and muscles actively signal for nutrients to initiate a new cycle of protein synthesis. A protein-rich breakfast interrupts this state and provides exactly the substrate the body needs to transition from catabolism to anabolism early on. For men over 40, this meal is even more strategic because of a phenomenon called anabolic resistance. With aging, the organism begins to require larger doses of protein per meal to stimulate the same muscle synthesis that occurred easily 2 decades ago. This doesn't mean muscle no longer responds. It means it needs a stronger signal to respond with the same intensity. And breakfast, which many people substitute with a fruit and coffee, is a concrete and daily opportunity to send this anabolic signal. A study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition demonstrated that starting the day with at least 30 grams of protein significantly increases muscular protein synthesis compared to patterns where protein is concentrated only at dinner. Another relevant benefit is the thermic effect of proteins. The body spends between 20 and 30% of protein calories just in the digestion process, elevating metabolism from the first hours. The best sources for this meal include whole eggs, whey protein, Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, and lean meats, aiming to reach between 35 and 50 grams of protein in this first meal. 4 eggs combined with 7 ounces of Greek yogurt, for example, already deliver around 40 grams of high biological value protein. Habit number 8. Do moderate cardio. Moderate cardio performed in the morning, when well dosed, is not muscle's enemy. It's an ally. This statement contradicts what many men over 40 have learned, but the issue here is entirely about intensity. The key is maintaining heart rate between 120 and 140 beats per minute for 20 to 30 minutes. In this aerobic zone, the organism preferentially uses fat as fuel and integrally preserves muscle tissue, unlike high-intensity cardio on an empty stomach. which can compromise lean mass when poorly planned. A study published in the Journal of Applied Physiology confirmed that moderate aerobic exercise increases mitochondrial density in muscle cells. More active mitochondria means muscle with greater capacity to generate energy efficiently, which translates to more productive strength training, with more possible repetitions before failure and greater execution quality throughout the sets. For men over 40, morning cardio offers yet a fundamental cardiovascular benefit. It improves the heart's capacity to pump blood and vessel efficiency in transporting oxygen and amino acids to muscles during and after training. The EPOC effect generated by moderate cardio keeps metabolism accelerated for up to 24 hours after the session, increasing total daily caloric expenditure even at rest. Activities like brisk walking, stationary bike, rowing, or elliptical are ideal options for being efficient and joint-sparing. After 40, accumulated joint wear is real, and low-impact options are an intelligent way to reap all aerobic benefits without adding more load to structures that have already worked hard over the years. Habit number 9. Take cold showers. The cold morning shower is uncomfortable for exactly 30 seconds, and extremely rewarding for the rest of the day. This isn't motivational exaggeration, it's applied physiology. Cold exposure activates the sympathetic nervous system, triggering noradrenaline release, a hormone that increases alertness, improves mood, and mobilizes free fatty acids for immediate use as energy. For those who train, the elevated alert state after a cold shower creates ideal mental conditions for a more focused and productive session, especially useful on mornings when motivation is lower. For muscle gain specifically, one of the most relevant benefits is brown adipose tissue activation. Unlike common white adipose tissue, brown tissue is metabolically active and generates heat by burning calories directly. Studies indicate that regular cold exposure practice can increase daily energy expenditure by up to 400 calories through this tissue activation without any additional exercise. Cold showers also stimulate production of so-called heat shock proteins, molecules that protect muscle cells against damage and accelerate tissue repair after training. For men over 40 who naturally take longer to recover between sessions, this mechanism represents a concrete and accessible advantage. The vasoconstriction process followed by reactive vasodilation, which occurs during and after cold exposure, functions as a natural circulatory pump, improving nutrient and oxygen flow to muscles. And the best part, you don't need to dive into an ice bath. Starting with 30 to 60 seconds of cold water at the end of a normal shower is enough to activate these mechanisms, gradually increasing duration as the body adapts. Habit number 10. Take supplements. Well-planned morning supplementation functions as an additional layer of precision over an already well-structured diet, filling nutritional gaps that common nutrition hardly covers consistently. For men over 40, these gaps tend to be more impactful because the organism has less margin to compensate for chronic deficiencies. Whey protein isolate or hydrolyzed is the starting point. Rapidly absorbed, it delivers essential amino acids to muscle cells within minutes, reinforcing protein synthesis from early on. Creatine monohydrate is another fundamental pillar. It's the most studied supplement in sports nutrition history, with proven effects on increasing strength, muscular power, and even cognitive function, which is especially relevant for men over 40. Always consume it accompanied by a carbohydrate source to optimize muscle absorption. Omega-3, specifically EPA and DHA, reduce chronic systemic inflammation and improve insulin sensitivity, creating a more favorable environment for anabolism and recovery. Low-grade chronic inflammation is one of the greatest silent saboteurs of muscle gain in this age group. Vitamin D3, especially on days with little sun exposure, closes this cycle with doses between 2,000 and 5,000 international units daily, sustaining muscular function, hormonal balance, and bone health. No supplement substitutes well-structured nutrition, but within a consistent routine, each of these compounds offers a real and cumulative benefit. If you enjoyed this and want to also discover 10 other things that nobody does and simply force your body to gain more muscle mass, we've left a video appearing right now on the screen showing each one of them better. Don't miss checking it out. Thank you for watching until here, and may God bless you, my friend.